How's everyone doing? Welcome to our very informal Switch 2 chatter before the Switch 2 launch. We've done this a couple of times for different things. A lot of Nintendo Directs and stuff. Like Scott will come together sometimes for a Direct that's randomly happening the following week and just take some guesses at it. But how often do we get the new Nintendo generation startup? It doesn't happen much anymore. So I was like, you know what? I got to get some people together. It's been too long. 2017.
Every decade or so, this happens. And John, it's been about a decade since we've done this kind of thing. We haven't really done many predictions or discussions lately. So I'm happy to be back into the on the old grind here.
Will we even be here? You guys are quite famous now, so I have to go through it. There's an agent process I got to go through.
One of us guys is famous. One of us guys had monopoly.
No, I
had to pay for that firstly, and then also, John, you sent me a message 2 months ago, and I was the one that messaged you a week ago, being like, "What's going on with this?"
That's how far out I had to go. I was like, it's got to go through the chain of assistance and stuff, so I might as well send it 2 months ahead of time. No, they're very easy to get a hold of. I messaged them on Twitter, and then that's it. So they're taking their time out of their very busy schedule. Especially Wood over here. Congratulations to the addition of the family.
Can you see that I am fried? Yeah, I just had a kid. I appreciate it. I mean, you know all about it. You got like what, 7?
Yeah, it's basic now. It's just you already know what's going on. What's that?
I think I
hear
them.
Yeah, you can probably hear them. They're out there. They're of course they usually tend to play around the door to the office,
of course,
as I'm recording and doing anything. Like the whole day, it's been quiet,
close to dad as possible.
Day it's been quiet.
Let me ask you a question here. When do I get to sleep again?
When do you get to sleep? Well, I mean, middle school's right around the corner, you know.
Oh, great.
So
okay, cool.
11 or 12. Because you'll run into a lot of stuff where they'll be sick or something, and then it's like middle of the night. You're like, oh, well, I need to get up now and clean and help them. So that's gonna happen because they got to work through all the illnesses, especially when they start going to school.
Yeah, I don't look forward to being sick all the time, but I do have 3 Switch 2s pre-ordered though, so I have him and Kim covered.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
See, one of my kids was born right after the Switch 1 came out, so they were lined up perfectly with the Switch generation.
Yeah.
So I think back and they're like, oh yeah, you were born same month as the Switch 1 that came out. So it's like all lined up.
Well, that's what I was suggesting before. I mean, our babies are being born the same time as the Switch, but are we, as old men, going to be here making content and doing this podcast for the next generation of Nintendo? Will we be around for Switch 3? Or is this our last chance to do this?
Well, let's see. You're, what we got?
I'll be like 45.
Yeah, we got 8 years, right, on this one, we think. So who knows where we're going to be, and who knows what gaming's going to look like? Who knows? But when the Switch 1 came out, we had no idea about these PC gaming handhelds. Now they're everywhere.
I know. I've been messing around with the Lenovo Legion Go S the last couple of days. The Steam one, the Steam OS one. Yeah.
2017 just feels like another lifetime ago.
Are we even going to make it 8 years with this Switch? Because people are already picking it apart. You know, Cyberpunk at 30 frames or whatever.
Well, I think it's more like Twitter's angry at it most of the time and parts of YouTube. Yeah. But I think when you go outside and like the mainstream, I think there is a lot of excitement. If nothing else, we've seen the websites crash over it. So
that is true. You're not wrong.
I think there's a lot of people who are like excited for it. It's just, I think people are also ready to get their hands on it because again, we don't get that new Nintendo generation like we used to, where we'd have it offset by a handheld. So it's like, here's 3 years, you get the handheld, 3 more years, you get the console, back to the handheld. Now it's been legitimately 8 years. And finally we get the next system from Nintendo.
Yeah.
After all the Switch Pro stuff. So, which kind of getting the Switch Pro now. So.
Switch 2 Pro. How long till the videos start? How long till Sean makes a video?
We already started talking about the Switch 2 OLED. That Bloomberg put up a piece about that. We already talked about it.
Cool, great. A whole cycle starts again.
Switch 2 Pro. I'm ready for it. It's it's out next week. At this point, I think this is going up over the weekend. So this week maybe, depending on when you're listening to it. But I'm trying to pick the thing up at midnight. I don't know your guys' plans. I don't know. Scott may be in limbo. I don't know. he may be all over the place. He's traveling to LA randomly. Who knows?
We'll see. I got a pre-order in at Best Buy. I got Mario Kart bundle. a camera because I'm feeling a little quirky. Pro controller. I got Cyberpunk as well. That's kind of the only other physical game I'm really interested in. Even like the other, like the Switch 2 editions, I don't really care about, mainly because with Zelda, because there's going to be the two Zelda physicals at launch, but I'm just going to get the upgrades for free with NSO. So I'm like, like, I don't know, like I don't need those. And then all the game key cards, like I'm just like, yeah, that is pretty deflating. I get it, but I'll kind of wait and see on some of those. If I'm interested in any of those, like I might just get it digitally. I don't want to be stuck to a key card or anything like that. But yeah, I got pre-ordered through Best Buy. I also have one through Amazon UK. Because
before the whole tariff thing.
Oh, it went live like, I don't know, probably like a week or so before US pre-orders went. And I'm just kind of thinking like, I have my teammates, I have my my office that they can capture gameplay at and all of that. So I'm just kind of like, I'll get a UK one. It won't come day of, but I didn't know how hard it would be to secure one. So I got that one as kind of an emergency, but also like that'll be my office's Switch too. So that's my current plan.
So I went a little overboard because my whole channel is Nintendo, so I needed to make sure I had one. So when they went live, I was there at midnight at my PC.
I was watching this stream, Wood. I was watching it. He was going through it, man. It was like the 7 stages.
I mean, I won't give you the play-by-play, but essentially after it took like 45 minutes to get one. The first one I got was through Target, then Target canceled it. Then I managed to get one at Walmart, and then I got another one at Target in that 45-minute window. But both of those say like delivering June 5th or whatever. And like, I never trust that. I don't know if it's going to show up on time. I want to like get it ASAP. So the next morning I went to GameStop. I went and bought a deck chair, put it down in front of GameStop, waited there for 2 hours. And I was the first person in to pre-order one. And I wanted that because it's midnight launch. So I'm going to go like Wednesday, like a week from today. And pick it up at hopefully midnight.
That's the old school process.
And
waiting outside.
I got every game. I got literally pre-ordered every single game.
Wow, you're
a creep. You are such a creep.
And
what is going on over there?
Pretty much every accessory that they had, including the camera, because I was feeling quirky. No, because I have to do a video, right? Like I bought every Nintendo Switch 2 game or something like that. Yeah. It's the same fair. GameStop that I went to, and I bought every single Nintendo Switch game in the GameStop. So I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't buy every Switch 2 game.
It's a little poetic.
Yeah. I love that GameStop. No one that works there are the same people from when I made that video. They've changed staff like 10 times, but I feel dedicated to it.
They've I think I'm going to Best Buy. I think that's be the midnight release move. And I was, like I said, when I was watching you would try to go through everything and I just had my phone up over here on Best Buy, and then I had something up on Walmart, and like randomly it refreshed and was like, all right, go ahead, buy it. So I'm like watching you scramble. I'm like, oh yeah.
Okay. Some people got it.
Worked. It's like, what in the world?
A lot easier than I did. I mean, people in my chat were like, it just worked for me. Don't give up. Okay. My Best Buy queue, because I was in the Best Buy queue, it timed out. After 45 minutes, it just timed out, and then I never got in. So yeah, I couldn't do Best Buy, but I'm not too worried about it.
I got 2 pre-orders because one of them I'm going to do like the teardown stuff, and I want one that's just never. The thing is, whenever you take a system apart or like, especially when you're learning to take apart, so there's no real guide or even knowledge of how to do it, it's gonna go back together, hopefully, but it's gonna be that system that feels like it's been taken apart at some point. So I'm like, I just want one where the seal's not been broken, nothing. So I'll put that aside. And I got Cyberpunk mostly because I do want to cut the cartridge open and see what the 64 gig chip looks like. That's really it.
Makes sense.
And I've been weighing the camera. I've been thinking about it. Here's my thing though.
You gotta try it for a video.
I know that the thing with the camera though is, man, Nintendo really wants this game chat thing to work. They keep bringing it up. I'm like, I feel like the voice chat is going to be used a lot. I do question about the video chat. How many people are going to be like, oh yeah, get the camera out. Let's do this. I'm ready. Like, I don't know.
They're really pushing a lot of like Connect type features with this thing, even though it is just like it's just a USB-C camera. Like a lot of the stuff they're pushing in like Mario Party feels very iToy like, Connect like. Even video chatting, that was a thing back then too. It just feels like kind of like a little like it's like they listened to everybody's complaints, but then they almost over delivered to the point where I'm like, I don't really think I'm gonna use a lot of this. Like, it's cool, like it's a nice feature, but like they're pushing it like this is like some amazing thing, and I'm like, like there's some nice quality of life features in there, but yeah, I'm not drooling over it,
You're right. It definitely feels like an overcorrection. Also, the way I describe it is like, how often do all of us sit in Discord with our friends and play video games? Like we do it.
Never. No, never.
Okay. Well, I do it occasionally, but and people listening, if you do it, think about how often do you sit in there with cameras on, and like,
right.
Yeah.
What? Like Scott's
when I am in Discord, I usually have my camera on. So
okay, well, Scott,
I'll just stop talking.
You're not helping me right now.
Well, if I'm like playing, like you're saying, what if I'm playing like Call of Duty or something on Xbox? I'd have a separate voice room open and not be in the voice chat with like the public stuff, But that's the point is you have your own little voice chat. But I'm not like, let's get that Xbox 360 camera or the Kinect out or something and relive Uno all over again.
We're all streamers, right? Like you're sitting in there with RGT and whoever else playing games, but you don't turn your cameras on. Like it's a little like intrusive. Right. Like you kind of want to just be sat there in your underwear playing games at 10 p.m. You don't want to feel like you're working or that you have to be on camera. And I think most people are like that. I'm sure there are friend groups that sit on camera, but I think most people sit on Discord just with voice chat. And I don't really know how many people want to be playing games with a camera on the whole time for everybody to see their face. Like it's a fun, quirky gimmick for like occasionally, but I don't know what the use case is here for how many people actually want that.
Well, let me ask you this, Wood or even Scott, when you're not using video chat, are you going to leave the camera plugged in and set up?
No, I'm feeling a little weird about it.
I just mean in general, like, how do you feel? Because remember that was a big thing when the Xbox One was coming out, and it was like you got to have this camera plugged in and looking at you all the time, and that there were like articles that were concerned about it. But like the idea
of the 360 days,
you
it was always kind of like.
Do you then have your camera already set up and plugged into the dock or the top of it or something, and you just leave it all the time next to your TV?
So even this camera, when I'm done like making videos, I don't like sitting here and working and having a camera plugged in and looking at me. So I'll turn it to the side and unplug it. So I don't think that I will. I'm just so paranoid about a camera being on. You know? I mean, I'm like walking around the house naked.
I mean, I got cameras all over the place, and like, how many of them are actually, spying on you, but it's also like, I don't know, even as a kid, like when I had the Xbox 360, when the Xbox 360 was like big with Kinect, like, and I left the Kinect plugged in, even as a kid, like I kind of thought like while I was like walking around in my freaking pajamas, like just being like it's just like, are they spying on me? I don't know. And like, I don't know. There is a privacy filter, I think, on the camera, right? Like you can like turn a notch and like,
Can you like slide plastic in front of it basically?
I don't think it slides plastic. I think it's just like I think it's just a notch that you turn and then they're like, oh, now it's private. Like we're not looking at you.
Laptops we'd work on back in the day. The store would come in and some companies would put the little slider, the plastic piece that you just slide over the webcam on the front. That was actually a selling point for a lot of laptops back then. It was like the privacy aspect to it. Just the idea of that camera being up, I didn't know how that would go with some people. I was just curious.
I think it's just unnecessary. Like I'll probably just plug it in when I'm gonna use it. You know, like why would I leave it plugged in at all times? And also, I feel like Nintendo's own camera, I think like one or two of like the Hori cameras, even though the resolution is absolute garbage, but I think they can dock on top of the Switch 2's USB-C port, and then you can use it in handheld mode. And I'm not sure, I don't think the Nintendo official camera can do that, right? Like it's always on that stick. I think this is stupid. Like, I'm just like, as much as Nintendo is pushing this camera, they are pushing it a fair amount. Like it's in advertisements. It's like one of the main selling features in like some of the Switch 2 commercials. It's like it was heavily featured in the Paul Rudd commercial. It was heavily featured in like one of the big like overview commercials that they've done where it's just like you can use a camera with it. And I'm just like, I think it's just strange. Like at the very least, I think it would have at least made more sense if you could dock it on top of the USB-C port, or if the camera is just included like at the top of the Switch unit. You know, like the plugging it in allows you to kind of manipulate the camera a little more. But I think it would have made sense if like it just had like a camera at the top of the screen, like most handheld devices have. And you could just, orient the dock to be like looking at you on the TV, and then you could also use it in handheld mode. But I don't know.
I think you're right that it's being very heavily marketed right now in all those trailers and Paul Rudd and stuff. But I think very quickly it's going to become very forgettable because like the box for the Switch 2 doesn't have it. Like it's nowhere to be seen. I think once we move past the launch window, and I'm assuming not many people are going to buy it or use it, and it's not going to become that active, I think it's going to slowly just kind of drift to the side of irrelevancy pretty quickly.
It's almost like how Rob was with the original NES.
Yeah,
just kind of like something to advertise it with, to be like, look at what this can do.
I think this is the new IR reader. You just have to buy this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even have any games supported at launch, which is weird. As far as like actual features in the game, but you got game chat, but like the Mario Party Jamboree doesn't come out until like later this year, like a few months after launch. And that's the first game to actually use it in a game. Otherwise, the use case to buy it at launch is literally if you want to talk to your friends and see your friends.
I also feel like the Mario Party thing, it's probably cute and fun. Like Mario Party Jamboree is a really solid party game. It's really fun. Pretty much every mode in that game is fun. So I don't doubt that those mini games are fun.
I played it.
Come on, guys. Like
I played it at the Nintendo Experience. You played iToy with PlayStation 2?
That's what I'm saying. It's just gonna be it's iToy game.
Yeah, it was iToy, and it was very embarrassing.
Like
very embarrassing.
But it's also like, like what do I want out of more Mario Party content? It's not little gimmicky camera games.
Kids are gonna love it. Like
kids
they
will
love it. But I don't know how many kids are gonna love it to make it successful enough. I guess we'll see.
And especially to like either buy it directly on Switch 2 for $70, or go out of your way to buy, or actually no, it would be $80 because that's one of the $20 ones. So an $80 Mario Party Switch 2 edition is $80 on its own. Or is it really 50. Yeah, and are you really going to, even current owners of Mario Party Jamboree, are you really going to spend that $20 for the DLC? When
I play that game, and I love that Mario Party, I turn off the motion control games because I just want to play traditional Mario Party games. I'm not adding a camera. I'm not having to get up off my couch. Like,
and like there are mouse games in it, I believe, and that adds to the mini game amount, which is kind of a problem with that game. Is like there's not a lot of mini games in like the main board game mode. But so that kind of helps with that, but it's also like, like you're saying, like a lot of it is like I'm already not really playing with motion controls on because I just want to play with a Pro controller. So it's kind of like,
And also, what other games could they integrate with the camera?
Star Fox, didn't they have that for the 3DS where they had your little face over the thing and so you knew who you were taking out right away?
That'd be
we're gonna do another remake of Star Fox 64.
I hope so.
Star Fox Wii U Deluxe. Whatever that Wii U one was.
I think they could probably, I don't know, they could at least probably update like maybe the NSO apps. And then like when you're playing multiplayer with people, like it does the Mario Party thing where, you have your little picture-in-picture view, which is cute. It's kind of cool. But it's, again, like it's so context sensitive to like, all right, does everybody have a camera? Does everybody want to be on camera? Okay, we're all playing at the same time. We're all playing online multiplayer together. Like, okay, like it's cool when that all works out, but how many people are going to be doing that?
There's going to be one friend in the group that refused to get the camera. So you're playing Mario Party, you just can't see one of them.
It just has like the default Facebook picture or something,
I mean, I think voice is the biggest thing people are asking for, and that's probably what would just be used the most. So at least
I
that's there.
agree.
You know,
Yeah.
Well, I
just
don't
fire
even
that up
think
real easy.
it's not even confirmed that you can directly message people, right? You can't just text them, or
I
you
don't think
can't
we have
message them.
that. Yeah, I don't think we have knowledge of that yet. No, but we'll find out soon.
I just
'cause
don't think it's there.
It is weird that you can do voice chatting with someone and you can't send them a message.
That is like, oh no, that is such poetry. I love that. That's no, they're doing that. It's gonna happen, and everybody's gonna hate it. People are gonna. That's gonna be a big part of reviews at launch. They're gonna be like, well, I like game chat. It works great, but I can't message people. So
Can I throw out there too, like, you know how you can stream games to people now, but it's like really pixelated or like low frame rate, and people were
15
memeing on
frames
that.
a second or something like that. Yeah.
Can I say that, like, I think that's fine, especially when it's just like these little like images and you're just trying to like they're in like the side of the screen while you're playing your game. I don't think everyone needs to be 60 FPS. I never really had an issue with that, but people were clowning on it. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think the idea of being able to see someone's screen is pretty cool. The 15 frames, that when we found out that it is actually allotting a lot of system memory, more than we were expecting. They're reserving like 3 gigabytes of the 12 just for what they're doing now. I actually want them to. I would like to see them whittle that down even more. So if that means that game chat would take a step back, or even as we're seeing, I don't know, maybe they go to still frames or something. Let me take a screenshot and show you. I feel like just the idea of being able to see what your friend is playing at that time, if they need help, that's the biggest thing I would assume that would be for, really.
Yeah. I'm assuming some games won't be able to do it too. Like, if you think about like the capture button right now on the Switch, some games that I really take up a lot of, well, you know, the terminology, it's too much to run. They'll turn off the capture button so you can't, it doesn't do the recording at the same time as playing, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I imagine games like
a lot too with certain things.
I imagine games like Cyberpunk, you probably wouldn't be able to be blasting through Night City while seeing all of your friends doing the same at the bottom of the screen, right?
That'd be something to test. I'm curious now.
I feel like that's pushing too much memory or whatever.
Yeah, that game. I mean, that game is, I assume, pushing the Switch 2 quite a bit. Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
The fact that it's running the way it is on what's essentially, look at a tablet, is impressive. So that'd be set up 4 of them at the bottom, or a bunch of them at the bottom, and then yours. Just see what happens. That's a video on its own right there.
See if it blows up.
Hey, you know, I did want to bring something up here. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say Nintendo's communication has been awful this entire thing. Like, it is kind of like, you know, like, yeah, we don't know a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff is kind of like, you know, like it may not be the most necessary info, but I think like even the way they describe like game share and a lot of this, like, it does leave a lot of stuff in limbo of kind of like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know how this works, but I'm not 100% sure. You know, and I think that's how a lot of stuff with Switch 2 has been. But
it's also because it's Nintendo, and it's like, you know, you see game share or whatever, and you just expect it to work like on Discord, but it's Nintendo, so you're like, surely there's caveats. Like, what can't we do with this?
There was actually a game that exact same scenario where they were kind of like weird about Mario Strikers when that was coming out, and I wasn't sure if you'd be able to have 4 people on the same team playing online. And I was like, they have to be able to do that, and then you can't. So that's always in the back of my mind when I see this stuff being talked about. But
then they're being weird about Mario Strikers. They're being weird about Mario Strikers again because it was available at all of the events on the GameCube NSO app, but it's not going to be there at launch. Why? What is
probably the first one that's going into the app, I assume. That probably by like the beginning of July, that's going in.
It wasn't at the event I went to. If it makes you feel any better.
I don't feel good in general, so it's just like, no.
I did want to bring something up though. There was a bit of a conversation recently online that Wood was like at the center of, and I want to back him up a little bit on this because I saw you.
Okay, I'll just leave the room for a second while you do this.
This is. I think this is.
Can we talk about Celia B retweeting it?
This is really showing just in general how the conversation breaks down on places like X, or really just any social media at this point. But you posted an image reposted one basically that I think that was shared around of the Switch 2 box at retail versus the Switch 1 OLED. Specifically the white model. I think the point would have been pushed across even better if it was the black dock model, because it does actually look even more similar there. But
Wait, really?
you just mentioned
What's
that
the black box model?
what's that for the
Oh,
Switch OLED?
oh,
Mhm.
right.
Because it just matches up matte black and matte black. So when you look at it at a glance, but you had mentioned that the packaging is far too similar and a bit confusing for the general public, and I think people looked at that as you saying that the system's not going to sell because the package.
That's definitely how they took it, which is unfortunate.
I think there is actually a point to be made, because as soon as I read that and looked at the image, I had flashbacks to all kinds of situations where because I did gaming retail for a while.
I worked retail as well.
I ran like management of and part ownership of, and there were some of the weirdest situations I dealt with that in my mind would not have made any sense to be in that conversation of like my worst memories were like trying to decipher between a DS, a 2DS, a 3DS, and a new 3DS XL for a customer because they had no idea what was happening in front of them. And to me, I'm like, oh, this all makes sense. But it's like some grandmother who's really struggling.
So that's the biggest thing with this tweet, Scott. I don't know if you saw it, but it got 10 million views and people were clowning on me. I think the issue is people aren't able to remove themselves and their own knowledge out of the equation. They can't put themselves into the shoes of somebody that has no idea what a Switch 2 is, and they're out there trying to buy it for somebody else. I worked retail too. I worked in a lot of different retail places, both tech and also hardware and like random other things. When you work somewhere and you have knowledge of a product or you're invested in a product, a lot, like you said, a lot of it is very obvious. But when a customer comes in without much knowledge and they don't really know what's going on, they're really relying on you. And depending on who they get on that day, they might walk out with the wrong thing. And I just was trying to say that these two things are so similar. And also after the Wii U, which we all blamed pretty much marketing on for it being a failure, right? With the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 being almost identical looking, they have identical UI. Really, the only difference between them as like consoles and concepts, like the main difference is one is more powerful. One can make the games look better. And you show that, you even just show the consoles to any like mom or dad or whatever, and you'd be like, spot the difference. They can't be like, well, this one's got 60 frames. Clearly, this one's running 120 hertz. Like they just don't know about that stuff. So you make the marketing look so similar. There are going to be people that are confused. I feel like that's just a fact. But I never meant to imply that the Switch 2 is about to fail because nobody is going to be able to tell them apart based just on the boxes.
Yeah, I have the tweet up here if you didn't see it, Scott, but just on the screen.
Yeah, it's I think it's mostly down to a lot of general people are probably just going to walk into the video game aisle and there's not going to be Switch 2s there. There might not be like, okay, what if Switch 2s are gone and there are Switch OLEDs and there are like normal Switches, even down to the red box, and even the positioning of the Switch 2 on the Switch 2 packaging is very similar to the normal like Switch 1 key art. Like, so I think like, and like, for a fact, a lot of kids are going to tell their parents, I want the Switch 2. They're not going to tell them, look for this on the packaging, look for the big 2. Like, they're not going to think about the fact that the parents are probably just going to go into the store and go for the first Switch like looking system they see. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, really.
No, I never thought it'd be a huge issue. And you make
it is something to think about,
That's the point I was trying to make too, because everybody, the main thing people were trying to do to clown on me is like, there's a big 2 on it, right? I get that. The other box doesn't have a big 2 on it, right? The OLED box, the Switch 1 box doesn't have a 2 on it. The Wii U had a big U.
The Wii U had a big, a lot of stuff different on the boxes.
To your point though, Scott, if someone was to walk into the store, all the Switch 2s are gone, and there's just the Switch 1 boxes, that doesn't have a 2 on it. So like, how do people that don't know what they're buying know that that's a Switch 1 or a Switch 2? It says Switch OLED on it. Is the OLED the part that's making it different? Like, is that the sequel? Like, it's just, they're so similar. I just thought it'd be a bit confusing for somebody out there, But
yeah.
What do I know? I think a lot of people haven't worked retail. That's all I think. But I never thought it was going to be like a a damning issue that's going to ruin the launch. I just think a few Timmies and Jimmies on Christmas are going to be a little disappointed until the public holiday is over and they can go and switch it out with the second one.
If that story does pop up, though, you need to quote tweet it.
Oh, I can't wait. It will happen, and I can't wait.
Parents still call like Nintendo stuff Game Boys or Nintendos and all of that. Like I should know. I've talked to my parents about things. They don't know what's going on.
They have no idea.
They've heard.
I was a kid.
Like,
I remember trying to like get my parents to get me the right gaming thing I wanted for Christmas. I remember one year I really wanted Smash Brothers, and I kept trying to tell my mom Smash Brothers, and she went out and she bought Tak 2: The Power of Juju on GameCube because the guy working at GameStop said it was a better game. You know, like parents don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, these days, like, you know, parents of, you know, like the younger generation, you know, it's more likely that they grew up around video games or they're a little more knowledgeable compared to like, you know, like my parents, your parents, you know, everybody's parents from like, you know, like back in the day. You know, like I think it's fair to assume that people are more knowledgeable these days, but a lot of times they really aren't. Even think of put yourself in the shoes. Like, have you ever tried buying something that you aren't really that sure of? Like you're not as ingrained into the knowledge of like the genre of product that it is. And there's a billion different product like numbers, and there's like, okay, what's the difference between this one and this one? As simple as a lot of these video game things are, to kind of decipher of like, oh, what's the difference between this model and this model and this model? You know, there's a lot of people that just don't get it and they don't care. You know, I'm friends with a lot of people that just aren't into media like we are. They look at media as like a way of just like, I'm just going to sit down, consume it, and then I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to think about it ever again. And, you know, like I think our brains are just different in that way. Like that's just how we consume things, because all of these people that consume like this kind of stuff that way, they're using their brain for actually important things.
Yeah,
so
because we have ADHD and hyperfocus on video games.
Yeah,
a lot of people were comparing it to like iPhones. Like people don't get confused with iPhones every year, but like I think it's a little different when literally every year a new one comes out. People know to expect that, and everybody has a phone. Like everybody uses a phone.
Oh, and also iPhones aren't like on the shelf. You have to, you know, you have to go to the phone store or you buy it online or anything like that. You know, like I think there's a lot more. You comparing a Switch 2, you know, you're going into the store, you're seeing it behind the case, you point at it and go that one. You know?
Yeah. Also, people just go to the store and they get whatever phone is out. I think. I don't think that
they kind of let the salesperson sell them on it anyway.
Yeah,
you need
most
the new iPhone. You need all his cases and everything else. And
most people don't rush out day one to get the new one when it comes out. And the people that do are probably the same people that know the difference between Switch 1 and Switch 2.
Yeah, I think most people just upgrade with their phone plan. Whenever it's time to upgrade, it's like, all right, let's go see what's new.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to keep talking about my tweet. Although I did think it was funny that I got 7,000 likes on that, and then most of it was clowning. And then Celia retweeted it with like, "Hey, Wood's actually right," and that got like 15,000 likes.
Well,
so I appreciated the backup, but I was like, okay, what?
I mean, it's as you mentioned, people in retail, I'm sure, all had flashbacks to something that they can pull from with that. And like, I went through that at some point. So,
people are dumb. People think the Earth is flat. You think someone's not going to walk in and get the Switch 1 and Switch 2 confused? You think there's a dumbass out there? Really?
Let's talk about the launch lineup actually for the Switch 2, because this comes up a lot since with the first 2017 the Switch comes out. You go on the eShop, there were like 5 games on there. There were a lot, but we had one game that basically counted for a lot of people as like 50, and that was Breath of the Wild. People still look at it as like some people look at it as greatest game of all time, even like it's their favorite game. That's it. And now we're going into a generation without a new Zelda game, but a new Mario Kart game.
Survival kids, yeah. Okay, never mind.
I am curious about this one because technically Mario Kart, if you look at their lineup, is the best selling game.
Yeah.
You know, the last 10 years or whatever, just in general.
I personally think this is a very strong launch, and I think it's a stronger launch than the last one, just because, as you said, Mario Kart is their best selling game. It's so double on the Switch alone than what Breath of the Wild sold. And Mario Kart is such a easily accessible game to everybody. I feel like everybody loves Mario Kart. Also, it's multiplayer and online. So, someone buys it and then their friend wants to play with them. So now they feel like they should go out and get a Switch and get Mario Kart. It just begets more and more sales. It builds a community, the online aspect of it all. I think it is it's also the IP of Mario, which is, a larger IP than Zelda. I think game to game, obviously you can much prefer one or the other because one's an RPG and one's a racing game. But I think Mario Kart has that wide appeal. And then on top of that, I feel like the Switch 1 launch had 6 or 7 games. This has like 10, 15, something like that. Some big games, some big experiences.
Well, there's a lot of third parties.
And you have the backwards compatible. Yeah, you have the third parties as well. And then you have the backwards compatible as well.
Some of the Switch 1 games was Just Dance and Skylanders. You know? Like it wasn't. Like,
people think that launch was so good. It also had 1-2 Switch and Bomberman R, things that just nobody liked.
There was enough going on. I mean, like you had Breath of the Wild. 2. Snipper Clips was cute. I like Snipper Clips. You had Fast RMX. Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight and the new Shovel Knight DLC was exclusive for a bit. So it had stuff.
I feel like there's a 1-for-1 comparison with this launch, though. Like you said, we had Fast RMX, and this time we're having Fast Fusion, which is like the sequel to that. We had Shovel Knight last time, which is like the indie gem, right? This time we're getting all the Deltarune, and it's actually like new content too. It's not even just Shovel Knight coming over. Yeah, I feel like there's like a 1-for-1 for almost every game. I mean, Street Fighter 2, the old Super Nintendo game. This time we have Street Fighter 6. It's like everything is new and improved this time. And we have like a remake of Bravely Default. And we have Cyberpunk and Yakuza coming over. And Cyberpunk's like the best version of the game, apparently. Like, I think it's strong.
Well, Wood, I think that's a good point about just like, yeah, I mean, like I there was enough going on at the Switch 1 launch where it's just like, I had a good time. I mean, like you could just focus on Zelda and that was great, but there was enough other things where it's just like, oh, when you're tired of Zelda for a little bit, you can jump in and try something else. Like there was enough going on. But even then, like Fast RMX was really cool. But at the same time, that was kind of just like an enhanced version of the Wii U game, Fast Racing Neo.
Yeah,
and then Fast Fusion. Yeah. Fast Fusion, I believe, is just going to be just a flat out brand new game. So you have that, and then in addition, if you really want Zelda, you got the 2 Zeldas.
Yeah, true. You get 2 Zeldas there in 4K. Some extra features if you connect your phone. You get GPS.
If you want to, and then Cyberpunk, I think is like we had to wait a while on Switch 1 for that big like oh wow, the impossible port, or like the port that's like wow, this is here. And the fact that Cyberpunk is going to be there, Cyberpunk literally. I think is a huge it's a huge point in the system's life, and it's at launch where it's like, hey, handheld, we can do Cyberpunk. I think that's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
And then in addition, you have Street Fighter 6, which I think is a big deal as well. Yakuza 0, a lot of Sega stuff. I mean, like, it doesn't feel that crazy when, like, you have stuff like Sonic and Shadow Generations and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. Like that kind of stuff. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like,
that's also like a weird one-up from the first launch too, right? Because we had Puyo Puyo Tetris, now we have Puyo Puyo Tetris 2.
It's new modes. I'm like, what, 4K now? I don't care. I love Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. Get out of here with that. It's like $50 or $40 maybe. But yeah, I think there is a ton to experience at launch, third party wise, and I think third parties are going to be pretty prevalent on the Switch too. Like going forward, like I genuinely think for the rest of 2025, I think we know most of Nintendo's lineup.
I was about to say, like, that's just launch days. You cut a month later, you're already getting that new Donkey Kong as well.
Yeah, it looks good.
And I think, I think we're probably going to get 1 or 2 more Nintendo Directs, but I think the vast majority of it, I mean, the vast majority of any Nintendo Direct is third-party info, but I think the vast majority of the big news is going to be like, oh, this third-party game is coming. This third-party game is coming. Yeah. I think we might get 1 or 2 more like Nintendo titles, but I don't think they're going to be anything that huge. Like, I think when you look at the rest of the year, like it's pretty filled There are games that are, cross-gen between Switch and Switch 2, but we have 2025 kind of figured out. Like I don't know where a lot of other games would fit in, so.
Yeah, it's running out of space. I think the only chance of it getting another big Nintendo thing is, like, in my mind, they've been working on this Mario Kart since 2017, apparently.
Been a long time, yeah.
A long time. Metroid is obviously their other big one, but that's another studio and has also been 10 years of development time. And then Donkey Kong, you could say, is like the main one that's probably the most recent in development type game. But considering the other two were spread out over such a long development time, I think there's room. There's room for them to have something else planned. It just depends on if there's room in the market to squeeze their fans of another game,
Yeah,
I mean, they've pushed games into December before. They had a Xenoblade 2 that was a December release in 2017, and then later we had Smash Brothers release in December. So they could sneak one in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just feel like this holiday season, I think they're primarily going to be focusing on Mario Kart and Donkey Kong. I think those are going to be they're going to be pushing them as like this is a big thing. Yeah, and they're gonna there's gonna be the games actually coming out this holiday, like Metroid and Pokemon and Kirby Air Riders.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Pokemon.
Yep.
God.
Hyrule Warriors.
What a launch window.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
crazy.
it does. I feel like it does feel like something is missing without like probably like a 3D Mario kind of thing. But I think Donkey Kong is Nintendo's like that's what they're pushing. That's their big mainline platformer this year. I think maybe next year we might get like a big 3D Mario kind of thing, and then we might start seeing like stuff come out about like the next Zelda potentially. But yeah, I think we kind of know their first party lineup.
I know Donkey Kong isn't a Mario game, but I feel like it is, right? Like it's a 3D platformer in that Mario universe. I feel like it's going to scratch that itch. I know Mario is not the main guy, but I almost feel like getting a 3D Mario just before the end of the year, so close to that, would feel almost like I wouldn't be ready. Like I've just finished this one. I need to space it out a little bit.
I could see them maybe announce it at the end of this year because it's going to be the 40th anniversary for the Mario franchise in September.
Mm-hmm. I have my little mad scientist theory with this Donkey Kong game. That I think obviously the main idea is that this is probably done by the people, the team that made Odyssey. But I think it was co-developed by Next Level Games.
Oh, interesting. I don't think this is the full Odyssey team.
The font is the same as the Luigi's Mansion games in this Donkey Kong game. And also the animations are really good in that, and Next Level is really good at animations. But I kind of feel like it would make sense. This game's been rumored about for a while. It was like, I think in like 2020, there were rumors that like the Odyssey team is making a Donkey Kong game. So I feel like they probably at least plan ahead. They'd probably be like, okay, we're going to work on this Donkey Kong game. Actually, let's kind of like split the team up and let's have another work on 3D Mario. Let's actually like work with like maybe Next Level games. I don't know. Maybe that's true.
What
maybe
if what if they started to do like an MCU style thing with this, right? Like at the end of Donkey Kong, you walk into like the Mushroom Kingdom or something, and then the credits starts to roll, and then through the credits, you're playing as Mario.
They had that leaked character. For Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Start linking everything together with your movies and your games, and it's a whole shared universe.
And then in the next Mario game, it's like a Mario game, but you can play as Donkey Kong and like smash and break things in certain parts, and it starts to like get connected.
Oh, it starts kind of like their own little Avengers.
Yeah, little Avengers, little Mario Avengers. That'd be cool. And then like Luigi's Mansion somehow fits into there. I don't know how. You just mash it together.
They've been doing a lot more fan service kind of thing. This Donkey Kong game looks wild with like all the little references and stuff they're jamming into it. Yeah, it looks fun. I do worry that it's potentially, because I did hear some people say like it's good, but the gameplay might be a little maybe mindless or something. Like it's just kind of like oh, I'm just breaking stuff. I don't know, but I think it looks really good, and I don't think I'm not worried about that, but that is kind of in the back of my mind. It's just like, what if this game is kind of just a little more like, because like that's a problem some people had with Mario Odyssey, is the fact that like, oh my god, these power moves, there's not a lot there's not a lot you got to do for a lot of them. They're just kind of mindless. They're just kind of like all around, and like, oh, kick a rock, you get a moon. So I don't know, like I just really like that they're kind of designing these games around the more powerful hardware. It feels like we're
Mhm.
genuinely taking a pretty big step up,
That's
which is cool.
Yeah, that's what they said. The big innovation is we're not necessarily hamstrung by the system anymore. That's it.
Right.
So that tells me they got some cool ideas in the works for it. And I think 3D Mario and big 3D Zelda are going to show off what the system can do. It's going to be
I'm
crazy.
so excited for the next Zelda.
Switch 2 welcome tour.
Hey.
Also, I was gonna say I played Donkey Kong, and Scott, you're right. I played it for 20 minutes, and I was just spamming one button the whole time. But
I
it was
think there's probably going to be
satisfying.
more to it. Yeah, there's probably going to be more to it. And
It was fun. I had a great time, but it was very prevalent in my mind while I was playing that I was just hitting that one button.
yeah, I mean, like
Smashing stuff.
the gameplay I've seen, like I see, like they do. It's a very deep, like thing they got going on there, where it's just like all the terrain, like it's just like, oh well, this is mud. So when you throw it, it's like Tears of the Kingdom kind of thing, where it's just like,
Yeah.
oh well, this is mud. So if you throw it against that, then it's gonna splatter. But if you throw it against that, then that's gonna break or some, like all that kind of mindset. And that's really cool. And like I see, like they can do like some interesting platform puzzle challenges, but just a bit of a thought that I had. But I think it's gonna be really cool. I was really, really happy to see that game.
That pasted it weird. I put in the private chat all the upgrades for the Switch or the Switch 1 titles. I've seen if you guys are going back to any of these games to check it out. I have a couple in mind.
One.
Yeah, I think everyone's thinking of a specific one with
Big
Pokemon
Brain
Violet.
Academy.
What's your favorite game, Scott? 51 Worldwide Classics.
That was the first one they mentioned in the Switch 2 Direct.
Yeah.
They were
What
like,
what are they adding to that?
Oh, more games get 4-player mode now. And
I thought you were going to say more games.
No, like bowling in that game didn't have 4-player support. They got to be adding 4-player support to bowling. Come on.
Everyone's picking at Scarlet and Violet. I'm kind of looking at Echoes of Wisdom though, because that game was all over the place with this frame rate, and it was kind of getting distracting for me. So
yeah, I got a couple hours into it, and I liked it, but I kind of want to wait to go through the whole thing on Switch 2, because I do feel like you're saying, like I saw that because it's an unlocked frame rate, and when they did the free update notice with it, they said it's just going to enhance resolution, but I think the frame rate's definitely going to get much better. Yeah.
That'd be my assumption. Yeah.
I mean,
and then the other
Echoes
thing
is a good backup one, but I definitely think Scarlet and Violet are the two people are going to have their eye on, because it was so bad.
I have to see. It sounds sad, but it's like 1080-30. Can we get that done? But also there is something kind of, I think, flying under the radar for people. HDR support for something like a Mario Odyssey, I think, could look crazy. Like that is just such a colorful game. If you have like a decent TV, but in handheld mode, you'd have HDR support. And I think that's one that at least be worth loading up to take a look at there. Maybe even Bowser's Fury.
Did they say that adding HDR to it?
Yes, HDR for Odyssey. I was looking at it. I was thinking, wow, that game could look actually really cool.
I think the updates are interesting to see, like what's getting the free updates, what's a paid update, and then what games are not talked about right now. And I think that, I've seen a lot of chatter about that, where it is kind of like, thinking like they're going to do New Super Mario Brothers U, but not something like Mario Wonder, or, they're not doing, they're not doing Mario Maker with mouse support, but they're doing Game Builder Garage. I think that kind of shows that potentially, obviously it's just like, oh, why didn't they do like Splatoon 2 and 3? Because they're probably going to do a Splatoon 4 on Switch 2. So it's just like, like there is kind of like some thoughts there. Or like even with Animal Crossing's loading is awful. Like that could have probably gone a good upgrade, but I think that shows that possibly what we could potentially expect sooner than later, I think, for new games or Switch 2 editions. Like there, it's totally up in the air, like what Switch 1 games are still going to get like Switch 2 editions.
I think that's a really good point. I thought about that too when I didn't see a game like Animal Crossing on the list. My first thought was there must be a new one coming pretty soon, so they're not looking to update the old one.
The free upgrades could be like actual announcements and directs down the road. They could be like, hey, Luigi Mansion 3, it's getting like a frame rate patch, and now it's 60 frames.
How exciting is that though? for a direct, like
I don't know,
this
just random.
This old game looks a little better now.
That is kind of what I'm thinking with like a lot of these Switch 2 editions. I like that they're happening, but like what are they genuinely going to position the Forgotten Land Switch 2 edition as like this is our game in August, like, and it's just like, you can do that, but like if they're going to kind of position these Switch 2 games as like these Switch 2 editions as like genuine, like, oh man, everybody drop what you're doing, there's a new Switch 2 edition out, when it's stuff like that. I don't know, like I just don't think they kind of hit the same as like, I know like Wii U ports were fun to complain about back during the Switch 1 days, but it's also like, at least with that, like I can play this game in a new, like in handheld, and they're probably like, like they might add a couple new things, and they're doing that with Switch 2 editions, but I can already play this game on my Switch 2. It's not going to run as well, but like I can still play it, so it's not like, what am I waiting for here, other than like with Kirby, it's like just a harder, like kind of like a new game plus mode, basically. So I don't know.
I'm kind of more interested here in what third-party games get that support. Like I want to know if like Witcher 3, especially because they've just done all this work for Cyberpunk, if they're going to go back and make that run better on Switch 2. Games like Outer Worlds and stuff like that, like the notoriously terrible ports, if they get anything, and if how much they cost,
WWE 2K18.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Well, they probably won't, because I think they're doing the newer one, right? They're bringing wrestling back, so they probably
the new one.
About 2K.
Yeah,
but
we'll see how that goes.
I actually I picked up that Fantasy Life I game that came out last week.
Is it good? I keep seeing people talk about it. I'm like on the fence, but it's $60 or $70 or something.
It's a lot, but I do like it. Without giving you my review of it, I like it. But they announced yesterday that there's a Switch 2 version you could upgrade to for $2.49.
Yeah, I saw that. What a weird amount.
Yeah. It's almost like, why? The game just came out and it's $60. Like, why not free? But it's interesting to see how third-party developers are handling the Switch, like the Switch over, and that's how they did it, I guess. I kind of imagine all the games releasing this year for Switch 1 have to have some plan in mind for Switch 2. Like older games, the development teams have probably moved on, but a lot of these more recent ones.
I think I see the only company that's being kind of weird about Switch 2 editions is Sega. Like, I don't think they're really doing any Switch 2 editions. They're literally just, this game is on Switch 2 now, like Puyo
and
Puyo,
all of Sega's
Sonic.
games are game key cards.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much everybody's games are all game key cards. Yeah.
Yeah, we have
John, let me ask you about this. Is it true? I heard that it's because you know how on Switch 1 Nintendo offered various sizes of carts for developers?
Yep.
I heard this time they're only offering 64 gigs or the game key cart.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yep. I checked into this a bit more, and I can pretty confidently say that is the case. Yes.
So off the rip, my first thought there is indies are screwed. And like that was such like I think a big part of the Switch 1 library was like these $20, $15 indie games like Stardew Valley, Hollow Knight, whatever, Dead Cells, getting these physical releases. What are they going to do now? I mean, they have to get the game key card. There's no way they can afford a 64 gig.
They would have to sell. I mean, the indie games would show up as like $60 or $70 games then.
Yeah. So the library for the Switch 2 is inherently cut in thirds into a third at this point.
Well, it's mostly on like the physical front, and like that's just the thing. Like I said, like it's just deflating. Like I don't need everything to be a physical copy or anything. I like my physical games, obviously, like I buy like way too many of them and all that garbage. But like, like if a game is digital only, I'll download it. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm waiting for a physical. Like, no, like I don't care. But I remember when I initially saw this, I thought, people are being like, oh, well, this is a whole lot of nothing. Like a lot of us were saying like, oh, it's like a replacement for Code in the Box. And it's better than Code in the Box. But now we're seeing games are doing Code in the Box on Switch 2. And in addition, I kind of thought, looking at the game key cards, like, oh, like something like Street Fighter 6 being on a game key card, that makes sense. It's a big game. But something like Bravely Default, what's the point of that? That's stupid. Now it's the other way around, where I'm just kind of like, I feel bad for games like Bravely Default, where I'm just like, well, yeah, why would they pay all that money for a 64 gigabyte card they're not going to use any of the space on? And then something like Street Fighter 6, I'm going like, wait a second, why isn't that on a 64 gigabyte card? Because that would fit on it and like it would warrant it. It's like 60 gigabytes because they don't want to spend all that money for that when they can just do a game key card. And like, I understand the purpose of key cards at this point, because when you're making the jump technologically to a system of this level, we are getting to, we are at PS4, PS5 kind of territory when it comes to file sizes now. Like you need an option for that, because like if you don't, then you know, like a lot is like Call of Duty would not be on Switch 2. Well, I mean, like it wouldn't be on Switch 2 physically anyways, because like that's like a 200 gigabyte game. But still, you know, like a lot of these games are getting too big to be on expensive cartridges like that. My problem is like why doesn't Nintendo just manufacture smaller cards? Because they probably do want people to transition over to digital. I do kind of have a hope in the back of my mind that this is like just something for launch or like the launch year. And eventually as things go on, Nintendo can manufacture more cart sizes. I'm not going to hold my breath for that, but I am kind of going like they might just be trying to get out like one size at launch because it's easier to do that. And then they might introduce more. But I honestly think this might just be kind of how things are. And honestly, like I'm probably not going to be buying a ton of Switch 2 games physically. And I'm probably going to be like Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake got announced, and that's going to be game key card on Switch 2.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame.
Physical on Switch 1, physical on PS5. I honestly feel like what I would do is get the PS5 version, and then if I see the Switch 2 one digitally on sale for super cheap, then I'd pick that up. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's also at the same time, these digital only things are like, you know, it is the norm. You know, you look at the other things like the Switch 2 with stuff like the Steam Deck, and like that's all digital only. But I don't know. They are two, like as similar as they are two different things at the same time, and they appeal to two somewhat different markets. So I don't know. It's a shame, but you know, like I am hopeful for the future, but I don't know.
It's really defeating because like I like to collect things physically, obviously, and it to me it's like, well, at least I get something if I buy the game key card. It's the same price. At least I get some plastic. But then at the same time, I'm like, this plastic's empty. It's worthless. I'm almost like, I almost hate even more that I'm buying this because it's nothing.
It's like, yeah, it's like you are collecting something, but what you're collecting feels like a waste.
Yeah,
in general, it's like it's a waste of material. It's yeah. And like you can lend it to somebody, but how much are you lending these games to people, you know?
And who's gonna buy a used game key card?
Yeah, it's just like I'm like, this is garbage. This is dumb. Like I'd probably just go digital with a lot of these games if I'm gonna get them. Like
it kind of removes the advantage, because before you buy a physical cartridge for the Switch, you don't have to then download 20 gigabytes or something if it's a larger game.
Right.
But here you don't have that advantage. You still have to download the whole thing and also switch out a physical cartridge when you want to play it. So
and now with the digital cartridges, you can lend those too. That's another advantage of like buying a digital and like you want to lend it to someone. You can't sell it, but I can have someone borrow it. So I think they're doing everything they can to push you towards digital now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of these companies are now. So that's just kind of the way it goes.
Another thing, Nintendo was awful at communicating. I don't know what happened to them this year. They just they're awful at, like when they announced the virtual game cards. I'm like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, I had to watch that trailer 10 times.
Yeah,
I'm like, so confusing.
And then like afterwards, like a couple hours afterwards, I'm like, okay, I think this is what they were talking about. And dude, even when it released, like it's just like I feel like it was like the most confusing thing. I was just like, what is this?
I was live at the time when I was reacting to them explaining it, and I was so confused. And my chat was like, how do you not get it? And they would type what they thought was happening, and they were all wrong. I'm like, no one understands this.
Can I put over one thing before we finish up here? Another part of the launch, the GameCube. Okay, can we just point this out for the younger audience here? There'll be NSO. NSO's getting the whole section now for GameCube. Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda, Soul Calibur 2, F-Zero GX. And then a whole bunch of other games that they've shown us that'll be here. So I think in like 2 years, it's gonna be a really cool library. But I also realize the GameCube is technically old. So, you know, we're old too. I still like to think of the GameCube as not old, but it's very old. So at this point, we're looking at a system that is ancient for some of these kids.
Games all hold up. The launch lineup, like all those games, hold up immaculately. They're fantastic.
The interesting thing, though, is Wind Waker got crushed back in the day when it came out. People hated this game. I think this is going to be really interesting to see people probably for the first time play this game and kind of get some immediate impressions from it. The art style, the dungeon layout, the character, the world. I think this is going to go over much better this time.
All before, never got the HD remaster, but we do have Wind Waker on a Switch system finally. But it'll be cool. And F-Zero GX in widescreen, that's gonna be really cool. And especially with online multiplayer. And then Soul Calibur 2 is amazing. That is so cool. And that's also in widescreen too.
Online as well.
Right, yeah. And like
online.
They did like a Soul Calibur 2 HD like remaster during like the XBLA days on like 360 and PSN. They could have put it out on Wii U and you could have gotten Link that way, but they just skipped out on Wii U in general. So now we have this version back, and that is super cool because that was the most popular version of Soul Calibur 2. And then Sony got Soul Calibur 3 as exclusive, so that just ruined that all there. So whatever. But
they announced some other games coming too: Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers Chibi Robo, Plug into Adventure, Luigi's Mansion, and
those
Pokemon
eBay
Golf.
Prices, man. Those eBay, that you just rattled off like $100 games.
I just got Chibi Robo too.
How much is that these days? I got Chibi Robo a while ago.
I went to that.
I didn't know that was expensive.
Opening of that Mega Retro store, and they like gave me store credit and stuff, and I got Chibi Robo with it.
Jeez, I'm seeing $200. $200 is the going rate for it on eBay.
I got to tell me like that, man.
Or it's for free on Nintendo Switch Online with a $50 expansion pack.
They're gonna raise the price at some point. They gotta. That's the thing. Isn't that wild that like, and I'm thinking they almost have to, because like I don't want them to raise the price, but I'm looking at everything they have in the expansion pack. I'm just like, this $50 a year is not gonna hold up for a while.
I'm not sure what else they can add to it before it needs to go up without introducing a new tier.
Right.
They could do a new tier, right?
They could probably, but that would probably be like if they would ever find a way to do DS, Wii.
Yeah.
With the mouse functionality, they're set up for DS if they want to.
They could. It would still be a little awkward. I think it would make sense if you could also if they gave the Switch 2 functionality where you could officially put it in like that tape mode. Yeah. Because like tape mode is a feature that a lot of games have taken advantage of, but like it's not really like an official Nintendo endorsed feature, so I think it would make sense if they had that. DS games would just look a little weird, but they could do it, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I think Gale of Darkness would be kind of cool to see people's thoughts on that. And probably the original Luigi's Mansion, see how that holds up for people.
Mario Sunshine, hell yeah, that's back. Thank God, can play that on Switch again finally. That's a nothing. I kind of wanted them to do like Mario Kart or Smash Brothers. Melee would have been pretty big. That would have been like, oh wow, we're bringing that back.
I don't know about Smash Brothers. I feel like
I'm not sure if the same mentality is not putting like Red and Blue. I think is they don't want to get in the way of the new.
Yeah,
because everyone would just play Melee.
Well, I also wonder if Nintendo's like a little like concerned about getting cozy, a little too cozy with Smash Brothers Melee.
What do you mean?
The community around it has a lot of history that Nintendo seems to want to avoid.
I'm not aware, but I'll take your word for it.
I see it constantly on like Twitter X and YouTube as people make hour-long documentaries about how messed up that community seems to be. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo's would be thrilled necessarily for that. So
what went wrong with Melee? What went wrong with the community? Tell me later.
How much time you got?
You tell me later.
I'm sure there's plenty of videos I can send you. I'll send you one that's like a 2-hour documentary that I saw passed around just recently on
I'll watch it tonight on my baby shift.
There you go. You put off on the side and have to pause your game occasionally and just give it the look, because I'm telling you, it's some craziness. It goes places you would never expect. So,
I'm
but
so excited.
how's everyone feeling though? Excited? Switch 2? New generation?
I'm pretty. I mean, like obviously every day there's something stupid going on. Feels like something silly is being like talked about, and I agree. A lot of things are kind of annoying, and I do hope the game key card thing ends up kind of like failing a little bit. So then they're kind of like, oh, well, we probably need to, but part of it is kind of like, what, this is basically everything I kind of wanted from a Switch successor, and having Mario Kart at launch and it being such a very like whenever they show new videos and like they always have like they have so much music in this game. The music is so cool in this game. They have so many little remixes and everything. I think that, and like this is kind of what I wanted from Mario Kart is just something that's like just something fun to go through single player wise. And I know like that Mario Kart Direct was so deflating. I'm like, I woke up for this. Like this is awful.
Yeah,
But I think the more we're seeing from it, I think that open world is going to have like a lot of fun little missions to do, and it's going to be just fun to just go through it all, enjoy that. I'm interested to see DLC for that, but that's going to be my primary launch thing, and just getting the system in my hands, and just I'm interested in checking out the Joy-Con and just how those snap in and everything. And it's just really cool. It's always fun to get a new generation video game system. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this one, but I think the overall feeling is there's controversy because everybody is kind of interested in it. So a lot of these things are more annoying than they would have been for something like a Wii U, where it's just like, Game Geek card. Like the only reason Game key cards are annoying is the fact that everybody wants to buy these games for their systems. So I think there is there is a lot of excitement at its core, and a lot of the negativity. While a lot of it is completely justified, I think it's kind of because this system is pretty exciting, and it's should be a good, solid start to a generation, and we'll see how it goes from there. But I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty ready.
Okay, bet you would.
It's a lot of mixed emotions. I mean, base emotion, yeah, of course. Excited for the new Nintendo thing, of course. As Scott said, there's so much negativity around it online, and it's hard to like engage in any like Switch 2 conversation, both in my own content and on Twitter, without seeing that negativity and a lot of brain rot and a lot of people trying to harshen the excitement. So it's hard to engage online with other people and to remain excited without feeling like you're facing a wave of negativity in return. So it's hard to keep yourself built up when you're looking for online reinforcement for it, I think. As far as like removing the online and just being me, there's two things. One, I'm excited, but it's so similar to Switch 1 that you already know what you're going to get when you open it. Like, you're going to open it and you're going to get the same experience you got when you opened the Switch 1. You're going to have the tablet there and the Joy-Cons on the side. You're going to put it all together and you're going to get the same thing you already have, but better. Same UI, same form factor, so there's an excitement level removed from when you get a new console and it looks so different. Like, even opening the PlayStation 5 is kind of exciting because it looked like a spaceship, so there's that level. So I guess for the launch, what I'm more excited for is the experience of the new Mario Kart rather than the experience of getting the new console. It's like the game I'm going to get to play on it and then look forward to Donkey Kong. And then the other thing is, and this is just very personal to me, I just had my first baby. Like, and it's hard to compare walking into a room and seeing your child for the first time, unboxing your child, and then 4 weeks later trying to get excited for this console, which in the back of my mind, nothing else really seems to matter right now than my son. But that's like it's so close to the launch of the Switch that my brain is in a million different places. But baseline, yes, I'm very excited. I know that was a lot to put out there, but yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun when the system comes out. We're in this period right now where we're less than a week away, basically, and everyone, I think, is just kind of they're on edge just waiting for the system to come out and start playing some of these games. So I think
Mhm.
once we get past that, a lot of the speculation and, as you mentioned, some of the back and forth online, I think it'll subside somewhat because people will immediately be able to discuss the system, the games, anything instead. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm
yeah.
sick of all like the comparisons and people saying that it's going to underperform or that games are going to look worse than PlayStation. You know, I just want it to get out there so everyone can get their hands on it. Even like the screen, you know, we didn't go into it, but there's all this conversation around like it's not OLED, so it's going to look like crap. Meanwhile, it's like this beautiful HDR, clean, crisp, and fun screen. You know, so
yeah, like the leaks of people who got it early are like going over it and they're like, it's all positive stuff. Like the screen
Yeah.
looks awesome. It's got, you know, HDR support here and 4K. It looks super clean on the TV. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's good. That sounds cool.
I don't care if it bombs. I just want this dang thing out. I just want to get this over with. I'm sick of it. I just
Yeah.
want this thing out, and I'm like, that's what it is. All right, we can move on.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I like new technology, so I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to see what this thing can do. So
yeah, this thing definitely feels kind of like a new computer, new phone kind of launch kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm gonna put all my Switch stuff on there, and it's gonna be nice. Everything's gonna load faster, all that stuff, and hey, we might get some extra little features. So definitely agree with you there, Wood. But yeah, it's still exciting. Still should be
Mhm.
fun.
you know what's gonna happen though? In a year, we're gonna be so used to Switch 2. We'll do one of those retrospective things, or we'll check out our old Switch and we'll be like, oh gosh, how do we use this thing?
Oh,
for 7 years?
I'm already thinking that. Even if you go back to the first Switch after using the OLED for a couple of years,
Yeah.
it's like, ooh, what happened here?
But like firing up the eShop and like, oh, how do we do all of this?
I don't even do that I'm done with that eShop. I'm like, I'm not buying
What do you
anything
mean?
on here.
How do you buy your hentai games?
17 seconds to buy hentai games. 17 seconds to load a page anywhere. Ridiculous.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Of course, we had Scott the Wozz, Wood from Beatemups. Check them out. I got their links down below in the description. They got podcasts happening. They got overhead shots discussing the death of Xbox. This is wild stuff right now happening. Yeah, you didn't see that? Scott did a whole video. How long was that video? Like an hour or something?
You're in it.
I'm in it. I am.
Yeah.
What did I do?
We
I didn't watch it. It was all
recorded a
popped up.
discussion
Like, that's an
2
hour.
years
I'll go and add
ago.
that to the list.
We recorded a discussion 2 years ago. So at the end of that video is probably 40 minutes long. And then I said, I don't know where else this should go because a lot of what we said here got outdated. So here's a discussion I did with John. So
It's
you
from
get 2
2 years.
videos in
I should
one
check
with that
that
one.
out. I should check
Yeah,
that
a lot
out.
of
I
the
didn't
stuff
realize.
on the Stash channel is backlogged.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. Obviously, Wood will be doing a whole unboxing of everything or something. He's going cleaning out GameStop and Best Buy and everywhere. So
I'll be live streaming the launch.
there you go. So there's gonna be Switch 2 content everywhere. Okay. So make sure you check them out. They're down in the description. Guys, thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, anytime.
Okay. And we'll see you guys next time.